Soft skills can be learnt from books, during conversations, and in teams. We all need them, so how can you develop them? Let's explore. Just get motivated. If only you could find the motivation to do the thing. Maybe you've heard lines like this often in your life. I know I've certainly had moments where I felt demotivated, lacking in motivation, low in energy. This week, I'm thinking about motivation because I stumbled across a video by Dan Pink, which talked about 7 levels of motivation. And I wrote an article that I released yesterday on LinkedIn that can give you a little bit more information about each of the 7 levels. And I recommend watching his YouTube clip. In thinking about how, though, what those levels mean, I realized that I'm actually using more of those levels than I know or that I recognize. And in it, he talks about intrinsic versus extrinsic kind of motivators. And of course, research shows that the more intrinsic our motivators, the better they are. But are they really, is really the question. So this week, in finding your motivation, I want you to consider what are some of the ways in which you use motivation, you find motivation. It's not something that we go out to the shops and buy. It's something within us that kind of arises, like emotions arise in us as well. So I'm thinking a little bit here that motivation is an emotional energy. And of course, we can't give from an empty tank. And so if you find, or empty cup as the expression is, so if you find yourself perhaps low in motivation or in the wrong kind of motivational mindset for that particular moment, then you need to go to the 7 levels and consider that. We ultimately want to be more aware of which do we need in the moment. So I was thinking about examples. I'm extrinsically motivated to people please, which I think was level 3 or 4, when I want to celebrate my wife's birthday, as it was this week. And she's in Australia, so I made sure that she had presents and cake and things like that available to her. Why? Because I love her and I want to please her. So I'm externally motivated to do that. Of course, there's an intrinsic value in me being a good husband and father and so forth. But ultimately, it's done for her to please her. Just as we might have other motivations like thirst, hunger, being angry, lonely, or tired, which is thalt, by the way. So consider maybe there's an external situation here that causes you to be motivated to find a drink, to grab something to eat. And that then, therefore, fills your cup as well. So then you have perhaps more motivation to start thinking about more of those intrinsic values. We all need a roof over our heads. We all need money in the bank to buy the things, to go about our lives and to realize the choices that we want, which are external motivators. So it's difficult to say that there's only intrinsic value is important. But of course, in other moments, if we're as I am in higher education, there might be moments where I want to bring in my purpose, my value, my understanding of how I can help and support my students. That's an intrinsic motivation, which walks me way up the chart of intrinsic motivation, according to Dan Pink's 7 levels. So I want you to consider, what do you need when? And so thinking about, again, as I've always got here, my little chart to summarize what we're thinking about, how can you gain more awareness of your motivational moments? What's driving you in that moment, I think, is key. You can then practice motivation by focusing on small steps. What's the smallest step you could take to realize that new plan? So if you want to create a new workshop, where can you pilot that as soon as possible? Where can you get some feedback, or can you really fix the slides? Because the motivation's not going to hit you, like you can't buy it from the shops. You need to kind of develop those small seeds that grow into bigger things eventually by practicing that. This will, of course, lead to mastery at some point, where maybe there's certain factors you realize will turn on your motivation. It might be having a good routine that gets you in the mood, in the vibe, and you feel like you're growing, you're learning. It might be taking on a daily TED Talk or some kind of new information each day that can help you, again, to grow in your purpose, to understand your value, and to help people understand their pain points. I often ask people to think about, What is it that you can help them solve? What are their pain points that you bring value towards? And when we tap into that, of course, we're way up the motivational scale towards a level 6 or a level 7 that Dan Pink talks about. And my last point here is about emotional energy. If we're running on empty, so we're lacking in sleep, we're lacking in hydration, we're lacking in appropriate vitamins and supplements or good nutritional kind of backgrounds, our gut microbiome might be a little bit out, then of course our motivation is going to wax and wane. If we're too high on coffee, for instance, as I often am, this could also be an issue where my emotional energy is too high for that moment as well. So this is a short video just to get you thinking about your motivational factors and avoid this idea of, oh, I need to wait until. We need to find the things that are going to unlock that for ourselves, and also recognizing there are moments where we want to be extrinsically motivated by the people around us, by the situations that are called on, by maybe that new status and so forth. But there's got to be balanced with moments where we're intrinsically motivated, where we're absolutely focused on our core purpose, our value, and understanding how we can serve and help others in our community. And later on this year, I might do a video on values and other aspects of purpose. And of course, all of this ties back to soft skills, which is my focus for this year. And there is actually, I saw tonight, a soft skill called self-motivation. So I'll address that at another point. But I felt like this new video by Dan Pink that he just dropped on YouTube was too important to not share with you who have watched so far. And I thank you for watching and really thinking about what's going to help you to learn and grow in 2026 as we really move helping everyone to find their purpose, to become more aware, to really practice the skills that they need in order to develop, which will lead eventually to new forms of mastery.